I have a list of questions I'm going to send you in the chat in just a minute, in private
Okay.
chat.
Yes, just send it over Facebook. I'll get it.
Okay.
Now that I'm watching it, it's behaving.
Okay, and that's also the link to the YouTube, which I'm fixing to share everywhere. Okay, so we're going live now. Hi, everyone. If you're watching, I don't know that anyone's watching yet because we just went live. So let's, yes, got it. All right. I'm going to
I may deviate from the script.
say what?
I may deviate from the script a bit.
That's fine. That I wanted to throw that out there as, you know, a guideline. So you know where my brain was, and then you want to take your brain elsewhere. You go right ahead. All right. Okay. I need to go ahead and let Jason in. Admit. And events, Zoom mixer. Share this with everybody. Post, yes, gee, one more thing I have to do. All right, no, that is not, no, there we go. Come on, there we go. All right. Watch, even jumping in. Oh, we got two more people. Hi, Jason.
Howdy.
How are you doing?
I am
good.
Setting this up to, oh, hello. Okay, that's weird. Setting this up to share with everybody so they can see what's going on. Not now. Oh, you know, as much as all these AI things are popping up going, hey, it looks like you want to do this. Don't you want to do this too? I'm like, you know what? Well, how about you try to figure out what I really want you to do and do that instead of making something else I have to click no for. I mean, if AI is going to take over our lives, can it please make it better, not worse? I don't want AI to take over our lives, by the way. Really don't want that.
Good, because love you, but we would have words.
Right. So, okay. One last thing, just to let everybody know. There we go. All right. I have done my due diligence and I can come back and say hi.
Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Of course, Kara, good seeing you again.
Good seeing y'all.
Oh, okay. Well, let's start out with everyone introducing themselves. Jason, we'll start with you.
You got it. Go ahead, Kara.
Well, how about we introduce what this is to the people watching?
Oh, yeah, that might be a really good idea. See, this is, I swear, we share a brain.
There's at least half a brain cell between us.
What's just come in my room.
So for anybody who's joining us, thank you so much for doing so. Welcome to the Dallas 48-Hour Film Project Mixer. We have representatives from Team Sofa Kings, who not only won Dallas last year with an amazing film called Fault Lines, right?
Fault Lines, yep.
I remember the movie. I'm terrible with names. They also were part of the top films picked at Filmapalooza from over 120 films to be screened at the Cannes Short Film Corner. So thank y'all so much for taking the time to join us tonight. As Liam was saying, if you could each just take a minute to introduce yourself, what your role on the team was, and maybe a bit about your experience in film.
So I'm Jason. I was a writer and one of the producers of Fault Lines, and we had a great time. Obviously, it was hectic, but the trip to Cannes, myself and the executive producer, Lindsay, ended up going to Cannes, and we had an absolute blast and screening there. I mean, once in a lifetime kind of thing, and it was just, we had an absolute blast. So that was worth it. But LA Filmapalooza is worth it too. If you guys haven't been to that, just because you get to just see the best of all the films, and they're incredible. So we were humbled to be part of the stuff that screened at Cannes, but it was a blast. We had a good time. Went to the beach. We goofed off in Cannes. I think we had some good parties down there. Nothing too crazy though.
What kind of parties did y'all go to? Because I missed out on most of it. I was just trying to figure out how to get around.
No. So we cruised around there, and then we tried to. The hard thing was they were the screenings and stuff. It was, it was pure chaos. There's literally, there was no paper tickets, but then you needed paper tickets to get into the event. So it was chaotic, but still, again, they kept us somewhat separated from the celebrities, but we saw a lot of people there. Going in on the red carpet, you could sit at the red carpet and just watch celebrities all day if that's your thing, but it's beautiful. That area is, the coast was gorgeous. So we had a blast.
Doug, why don't we go to you next?
Sure. So I'm Doug Kriz. I was the, producer, sort of prime mover in getting Frogger put together. I've just kind of brought together, the team of some of the people that I've been working with and knew or kind of wanted to work with, and just sort of pitched it, hey, let's go do this thing and put this thing together this weekend. And then it just sort of coalesced and really came together. It was pretty incredible.
By the way, for those of you watching at home, Frogger was the name of the film that won the Austin 48 Hours Film Project this year, and will be screening at Filmapalooza, which we really hope to see you at.
And it just so happens that the team is from McKinney, Texas. So that's we wanted to include them on this, and really highlight the extraordinary talent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And also, Frogger will be screened at the ATX Short Film Showcase. A little bird has told me that they may not be guaranteed the win, but it looks like they might get it, just because of how awesome your film is.
Yeah.
So for those of you who want to join us, it'll be in Austin at the Ballroom at Spider House on September
11th.
September 11th.
Yes.
Thank you. And we lost someone
I
else.
don't know what happened to Chris. I wish he looked like he froze, but Chris Berthelot is kind of one of my partners in crime. He kind of owned the acting talent silo and did all of our recruiting, and pulled in from his great network with some local theater here in North Texas. And he was just, he just kind of owned that piece of it, which was just sort of our philosophy running into this, and was it's just always so much fun to work with Chris.
That's excellent. Hopefully he can join us again.
I hope so. I think actually Bruce should be joining us here as well, I believe. So.
Cool. All right. And now we have Mark Blitch just joined us. He was the team lead for Sofa Kings last year. So Mark, introduce yourself.
Well, you just did. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, my name's Mark. I directed our film Fault Lines last year. Jason was the writer. And yeah, well, I can go in more detail on who I am as a person, but I don't know.
Okay, well, I do have some questions for each of you, one at a time. Mark, since you're on the mic right now, we'll ask you. Is this something that you do full time?
Yes. So I work for a video production company up in McKinney, and it's in the faith-based realm. So any chance I get to do something that's not that, it's a great job. I get to travel, I get to go to a lot of cool places, work with great gear, great people. But I every once in a while I have that itch that I want to scratch. That me and Jason, we always swear we're never going to do a 48 ever again after we're done, just because we're getting older. He's older than I am, just to be clear, but he's just the writer. And so it's we just use it as an exercise to hey, let's get together and let's just make something fun. We don't really think we want it to be good, but it's more important for us to have a good time and do it well than it is to, our eyes aren't on the prize until until the screening or whatever, and then we start getting a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
The
Well,
fact
that-
that y'all were having fun on set really does show through in the resulting film. You can definitely tell there's chemistry with everyone.
Oh yeah, and we were so lucky because all of our actors are all just really good friends of ours, and so we knew that it makes my job easier as a director not to have to create a new dynamic with new actors. It's and again, like that first day we shot the opening scene. Our actor, our Adam, our cowboy, like had only had the script for maybe 2 hours. And, it's not like there was a lot of script there to memorize,
No.
but he set the tone for the whole shoot. And Todd's a pro, Todd's Mr. Schaefer, our bad guy, but like, he's a pro. It was so funny because he read it, and then I don't know if even Jason knows this, but he's like, okay, so I was thinking about doing a really heavy, like, Brooklyn accent. And I'm like, oh, let's try it. He thought it was a comedy until we started shooting and saw Adam do what Adam was doing. And then he's like, oh, okay, I completely missed the mark. I completely misread this script. And so, sorry, I'm getting way ahead of you, Eileen.
No, that's quite all right. That was going to be one of the questions eventually anyway, was to tell us about your weekend.
I do see Chris just joined us. Thank you so
Yes.
much for coming back. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick for the kids at home?
Hi, my name's Chris Berthelot. I worked with Doug on our Frogger film, and I was one of the directors of the film, and I also cast the film, brought in all the acting talent, and kind of coached them along the way.
Excellent. Now, Sim, is this something that you do full time?
No, I am involved in theater heavily here in the Dallas area, but this is only the second time I've ever done anything on film working with Doug.
Okay. Which theater or theaters do you work with?
Several here in the area, Allen Contemporary Theater, Richardson Theater Center, Rover Drama Works. Trying to think if there's any others. That's really the main three that I work with.
Okay, cool.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us. Real quick, can you introduce yourself and tell us what team you were on and what you did and something fun?
You're on mute, Lindsay. There you go.
I was here. I am Lindsay Barnes. I was on the Sofa Kings team, and I was the executive producer. So, yeah. So,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I was just going to ask, is filmmaking something that you do full time?
I do. Yes. Yeah, I produce. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
And Doug, I believe you told me earlier that you also work in filmmaking full time. Can you tell us more about that? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I'd say that's a stretch in filmmaking. I'm sort of a self-taught video production guy, and I do a whole lot of corporate stuff. If it's boring and makes you cry, I just love it. I just can dig into it. I really try to work with my clients just to take something that's complex and make it just real simple and easy to make sure people are just picking it up.
Mhm.
Sort of a communication forward sort of approach. But and so when we drew mockumentary, honestly, we freaked out because it just worked so well in the style that we normally have to work for the most part. And so many questions about everything about how it's going to come together immediately just sort of grafted into what we normally do, which really kind of allowed us to have some fun, and that was really the whole point for us. But so I do that. I do a bit of video work, but then also my wife and I own a counseling practice up here at McKinney, and I actually, through the pandemic and stuff, that was really where most of my time had been spent over the last several years, was really building that practice up. And just in the last year, just kind of trying to get my feet back into the game and having some fun. And then we really had just an incredible experience here.
Doug, I think our team could use some counseling after the 48 hours. So could we schedule something with you and your wife?
Yeah, we had plenty of food, plenty of water. We had counselors on tap for the whole 48. We made sure that we were all, covered.
It shows.
Speaking of, needing our brains checked, what made all of you sign up for a 48?
It was my fault. I was just, well, actually, I had met Lindsay through another filmmaker friend, and we were kind of working on a project, and really just clicked really well. It was mainly during the pandemic, and we were just Zoom calling, we were doing interviews, and just really enjoyed, really enjoyed working with her. And then, she constantly would just be like, hey, I want to be on set. I want to be on set with you. I want to see what that's like and see if you're as great in person as you are over Zoom. And
He's not, by the way. Spoiler alert, he's not. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
and so at that point, me and Jason had done, 2 other 48s, maybe 6 years apart. Like, I mean, it had been a while, but we're like, at least for me and where my kids are at age wise, I could commit to a full weekend and have something to show for it.
Mhm.
And so I kind of pitched it to Lindsay, like, hey, would you want to executive produce a 48-hour film? Thinking that she would say that sounds crazy, but she jumped at it. And once I had talked to Lindsay, I knew that I had to loop in Jason and Danny and kind of our because me, Jason and Danny we did one, 7 years ago, and one, and we swore we never would do it again. But I told them, like, you really are gonna love Lindsay, and luckily they meshed just as well as I had hoped, and we had a ridiculously fun time.
Excellent. Jason, you may have already gone through the whether you do this full time and that sort of thing. I had to. My daughter is actually. She's now officially our assistant producer. She is filling in on a CP call not for Dallas, for something. She's on an official city producer call while we're doing this. They got scheduled after I scheduled this, and she was having trouble connecting. So I didn't hear what you had said earlier, so I apologize if I'm asking this question again. But is this something that you do full time?
Well, so I write, but again, you can't make any money writing. So so I'm a home builder here in Dallas. So I build big custom homes here in Dallas, and that's how I feed my family. But yeah, the writing stuff, I love writing, and we're always writing something. Mark and I are working on some stuff, and Lindsay. So we're always kind of dabbling in something. Just again, so we do it because the main thing is we want to have fun. That's our goal, is to do it so it's entertaining, not so it's we just make a deal that if we're going to do it, we're going to make sure we have fun doing it.
There you
Love
go.
that. Chris, what made you, because you're normally a theater person, what made you jump into not just being on film, but on the 48?
There we go. Doug called me. It was as simple as that. I mean, it didn't take much convincing. He called up and the first time around, a mutual friend of ours got me involved, and that was like 6 years ago. And Doug and I did one little small project in the interim. So when he called up and said, hey, I know you know actor people, can you wrangle up some talent for us? And I was like, absolutely. It's kind of what I do here in the theater scene. I direct. Primarily, I do a little bit of acting, a little bit of set design, a little bit of lighting design. But all it took was a phone call from Doug, and I was hooked.
Awesome.
Chris is such a tremendously talented dude, and and it's kind of funny because you know these people and you kind of know what they can do, and then you dig in and you really see them work, and it's really kind of fun to see people working in their element. And Chris just crushed it.
So would you say that's a really good part of your experience with 48? It's not just like really getting to know people or having a good time with friends, but just watching people bloom and what they do?
Absolutely. And I know Chris could speak to this, but the funny thing about the team we put together is that no 3 of the people had ever met each other before. The 2 guys that had done the writing met that day. and kind of stayed up late and put that together. Our two camera ops didn't know each other. There was just a lot of new relationships, but we had good silos and we trusted each other to do our jobs. And things just, it was always sort of about how are we more than just the sum of our parts? How are we going to elevate each other's work? And the team really came together and did that. And Chris just really owned everything that you see, the people. I mean, the kind of work that we do on a daily basis, I've got no idea how to make the most out of actors. And Chris was able to come in here and just speak their language and get them to sing. And that's what happened. That's why it worked.
It's excellent. So how many of y'all had like official training ahead of time, or is most of your training self-taught, or how did you get here?
Don't all start off at once now.
Yeah, my wife walked in. You're asking kind of how we got started
In
with this.
film in general and the creative arts.
Yeah, my mind's pretty boring. I mean, I went to college, went to Baylor for it was called telecommunications. It's now called film and digital media. I always wanted to made jackass movies with my friends in high school summers, and we probably tore some ligaments while we did that, and just got a camera for graduation and just kind of fell in love with it, and pretty much just did that all throughout Baylor, and then literally like 3 months after I graduated, got the offer, and I've been at the same job for 18 years next week, and
That's incredible.
just have continued to grow and get better and learn and work with great people and kind of learn a lot by failing. But yeah, it's been pretty much since high school. I've wanted to do stuff in film.
Awesome. You always say if you learn something from a failure, it's not a failure.
Right. Well, Jason would disagree. We got some failures.
Every time somebody asks me about Cannes, I'm like, well, it was a learning experience.
Oh.
I'm looking forward to going back and putting what I learned into practice.
There's a difference between learning from a failure and being willing to expose people to it.
Yeah. And ours have been public. We've made some bad stuff, but again, and I think the 48 hour, we've always had fun because again, like Mark said, it's a weekend commitment. So you're agreeing to make something as best you can in 48 hours. So there's not a lot riding on it, but the fact that we got to go to LA, go to Filmapalooza. So we hung out in LA for we did about a week, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah.
And then Cannes. Unfortunately, with the younger kids, Mark couldn't make Cannes. But again, that was just a trip of a lifetime, and just seeing the stuff that we did. I had a blast. We got together in Short Film Corner a few times, but just kind of exploring Cannes and stuff was, I never would have dreamed that would have come from us doing a 48-hour film over the weekend.
Yeah.
So for Sofa Kings, why don't you tell Frogger what they can expect at Filmapalooza when they go? Y'all are going, right?
Yeah, Filmapalooza. Oh, wait. Whereas Filmapalooza is like some ridiculous place this next year.
It's in Lisbon next year.
Okay.
Yeah, LA
which is
would be
very
great.
cheap.
Yeah.
I hear.
Yeah, I think that's going to be great for all of us. Yeah, I think we're all definitely gonna. Here's the thing. I thought it was in LA every year because the last time we did it, it was in LA. So when Rupert was saying all the other places that they've been to, it's like I don't think I would have been able to go to Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tall order. It'll take some. We're thinking on.
Yeah,
I've actually got
budget
relatives
very
in
closely.
England that we may be able to send as reps, but we're anyway. It's a bit to consider, obviously. LA,
I think,
great, man.
Yeah, LA was great, and I think what I was amazed by, and I think every year Mark and I were just, when we'd make what we thought was a really good one, like our first one that won Dallas, we thought, okay, hey, this is great. So we go out to LA, and they actually used to have pitch contests. So they had studios come in, and then so Mark and I did a pitch to like a horror kind of den. We shot like a short for it and pitched it, and we got to know Conrad really well, and he's still in contact with us.
Wow.
But we did that. But then when we saw the other European films there, we're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, just the European, there's something about the European filmmakers that are just another level. They are incredible. They do some, that French musical one this year was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
The European countries are very supportive of their
Yes.
local artists.
The
in
governments
ways-
are.
Yeah, in ways that America could really learn a lot from.
Mm-hmm.
Texas
Yeah.
especially.
Speaking of learning, do you think, seeing those other films and meeting those other filmmakers kind of helped y'all in your artistic endeavors, or will? Maybe
I mean,
some things to think about?
I think there's always something you can look at and see what people did differently, and just even whether if it's just like, for me, it's going to be more of a technical thing. A lot of times it's just, you tend to I'm a very competitive person, so I tend to go and watch them, and then I'll tell everyone, or I'll tell myself, okay, that one was better than ours. That one was maybe, I don't know. Like I'm at that point, I'm angling like, okay, I think, if we're in the top, 4% of each screening, we have a pretty good shot to get to Cannes. So that's sadly what I usually do whenever I'm watching the other stuff. Is honestly, I got to a point where I told Jason, like, I think I'm done going to my own film screening. Just the anxiety I feel, and the micro anxiety of like, they didn't laugh at the right beat. And that's pretty common for some directors to just not feel comfortable doing that anymore. I used to love it, and now it just gives me diarrhea. If I'm being honest, but I mean,
Honesty at
Doug-
all times, please.
yeah, Doug and Chris know what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
In my experience, so far anyway, traveling to Europe, strangely enough, is actually easier and more affordable in a lot of ways than LA is expensive every time I've had to go. My first Filma was in New Orleans. And so I was like, oh, easy. I can drive to New Orleans. It's an 8-hour drive, but I can do that. It killed my car on the way back, but it was worth it. And then when they announced that the next year would be in LA, I knew I couldn't drive to LA. I was going to have to take a plane. I hadn't flown since before 9/11. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to LA? I'm never going to get to LA. Well, I got to LA. And now being groped by TSA is, normal. But then they started talking about Paris. And I was like, how am I going to get to Paris? I'm never going to get to Paris. Then I remembered, yeah, you said that about LA too. And yeah, Paris, it took a few years to get Paris nailed down, but yeah, we made it to Paris. Paris was amazing. And what Kara and I usually do is we'll schedule either a week or 10 days to stay so that we have plenty of time before things start. Now, LA, our travel plans got foobarred.
We're not going to talk about our travel plans.
No,
LA.
but it reminded us why we like to get there 2 nights before things start, because that way we have a full 24 hours to rest, acclimate, make a plan, etc.
Like you were saying, we are no longer spring chickens. We have earned every level of experience we have. All of us
Oh, yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And everybody at that level deserves a little rest, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we try to get there a little over a day before things kick off. We check out the public transit and the local resources so we know where everything is when we need it. And by the time things kick off, we're in producer mode, and then we also have plenty of time to start planning what we want to do after. And staying a few days after is really good, because any other teams that stay after, you get to network with them while you're sightseeing.
Because during Filmapalooza, she and I are working. Y'all get to go to the networkings and the panels.
Mm-hmm.
I hope y'all went to some panels. And all the screenings. We got to work. So I really love hearing that y'all had a really good experience. So thank you for sharing that. Lindsay, were you with us in LA?
Yes, she was.
What was your experience at Filmapalooza in LA?
I don't think we can hear you. You're not
Yeah.
muted, but it's not coming through.
I think she's talking yet. Oh, can't hear her. Nope.
She
Drew
loves
shares you
spending
with
time with
us.
me. That's what she's saying is how much she loves spending time with me. And
Yeah.
just put words in her mouth. Come on, Mark.
She probably liked dressing up in a dress and taking photos. And,
Can we agree she's the tannest person on here?
yeah,
LA, the
yeah,
LA
she's got
girls
that-
all tan.
yeah, she's got that LA. Yeah. No.
Oh. Well, looks like we've got Bruce back and Michelle. Thank y'all for joining us.
If y'all,
Can you hear me now?
yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you
Yes.
now.
Oh, good. Sorry, it just like switched settings. Filmapalooza was great. I think if I remember, I feel like it was a little, was it a little pricey? I feel like for the 3 days. I don't
LA
know.
is
I
LA
think
is going to be really
like that
pricey.
cost was just like a little pricey, but otherwise I thought it was a lot of fun to connect with different filmmakers. We really enjoyed getting to know Jordan from the Oklahoma City team, and it was fun to just kind of get our team out. I'm based out here in LA, so it was kind of fun to kind of play I don't want to say tour guide or host, but a little bit of that. And then yeah, I thought otherwise I felt like it was good. I mainly did I was working. So Mark and Jason can probably speak more to the actual events and the screenings and things. And then we went to that final night where all the award ceremony and things were done, which was like, nothing can prepare you for that stress, by the way. That was like wildly unnecessarily stressful.
Yeah, we were hoping that our
That was like a whole situation there. They weren't kidding when
No.
they said that it's stressful. But
Yeah.
otherwise it was fun to kind of just see all of the winners and stuff there. So it was good to see some of the films. I get why they can't show all of them. But it's definitely fun to see some of the ones that got to go to Cannes, especially those from the other countries. Like the musical one I thought was just really great. Some of the French ones I think were fun to see that I would have not had the opportunity to see otherwise. So I thought that was good.
There was that beautiful one that I think was from Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was good.
it would have won if they got something different than a comedian, because they couldn't incorporate a comedian into
Feudal ancient Japan.
yeah. And so I thought I was like, oh, that's why it didn't win, because
Incredible.
they just snuck in a line that they just snuck in like, oh, you're such a comedian, and I'm like, well, it won the majority of the technical awards, so that shows you that you don't have to fully incorporate all your elements and still do well.
I
Right.
will say this, for cinematography, y'all were up there in the same realm as that film. You got honorable mention out of over 100 films to go with those top 3 films in
Yeah.
cinematography.
And
So
the only reason they ever give an honorable mention is if it was a close second. So
And
y'all
that's-
came really close.
And that was really cool because my DP, it was, he's my coworker. He's actually on my team. I manage him. So I kind of told him he had to DP it for me. I kind of just let him do his thing. And so he's really green and he's this 6'6" black dude, like the most cheerful, happy dude in the world. And just to see him, we have this expression where it's like, hey, I just want you to go cook. And so he came up with some ideas for the diner and everything. So I was so happy that he got acknowledged. So we flipped out when we heard his name. I think I was more invested in him getting acknowledged for cinematography than I was anything else that we did. And
Approach. It was fun to watch.
yeah. And then he colors it too. And we have a term where it's like, hey, I just want you to put some sex on it. And again, we work in a Christian company, so that's pretty, but that's just like, hey, just make it sex. All right, just make it sex. And he did, and so I was just really glad. I don't know why I had to share that with you guys. But
It's part of his counseling, Doug. He's a chronic oversharer. So if you could start making notes, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
We would all appreciate it as being team members. We
I
would really-
apologize, Michelle.
I don't do any therapy. I'm totally this way.
I'm not offended, dude.
Yeah.
So as they've just joined us, Michelle, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit? Tell us what team you're on and what you did on your team.
So pardon me, I'm actually a parent. So I have off screen 2 very shy teenagers. They are part of the Battle Axe Studios teen team
Welcome.
that are like crouched behind the camera, just listening.
Which one did they do? Which one did they do?
They haven't.
like-
No. This will
Oh,
be
you're
our
just now
fourth
starting.
event.
Just signed up.
Okay. All right.
Legitimately, I hopped on a DFW homeschoolers and unschoolers group that I'm an admin on. And I caught Rebecca's post. She's like, hey, I've got these teens. They really want to do this project. Are there any other teens out there? And I caught my oldest and I was like, hey, this is an opportunity, because she just like ideas just pour out of her for storylines. It's not the dialogue. I don't know what it's called in the movie industry when someone creates the storyline and like the people in the world building, but not the actual, there's probably a title for that. Anyway, she does that stuff. And I'm like, hey, this is an opportunity. And she's like, oh, what? And so we roped in the younger one, and we literally the next day went to this woman's house, and there were teens there, and we're like, let's do it. Why not? Like we've never tried this before. It'll be an amazing experience if nothing else. And then they shared this event on the team GroupMe chat. And I was like, I'm definitely going on that. And I'm late, unfortunately, because I had a meeting that ran late before I could hop on here, but that's us.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that you guys are involved, that it got shared to a homeschool group. I'm a homeschool mom myself, and we've had homeschoolers here in Austin who have done it. I was homeschooled as a kid. So yeah, that whole community means an awful lot to me. So
Brilliant.
very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, Bruce, you want to introduce yourself? We've been waiting to hear from you.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry for the late arrival, but my name is Bruce, and I am the lead editor for the Frogger film. And I had a blast making it with the crew that we had. And it's that plain and simple. If y'all have any questions about that, I can elaborate. But yeah, we had a blast making that, and I think with the crew that we had, sometimes things just come easy, and it kind of felt that way in certain categories just because of the actors we had and our DP, and then like Doug kind of directing the whole thing, kind of keeping us all focused in our specific roles. So it all came together really, really great.
Awesome. And I believe y'all were at least nominated for, if not won, best editing, right?
They were definitely nominated for editing.
I remember they were at least nominated. I don't remember who won, because I've lost sleep since then.
Mistaken. I thought it was the clown one that won.
That's right.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, that's probably right.
30 seconds. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you guys did such a great job. I mean,
It was
the
amazing.
Thank you.
dance party scene is one of my favorite.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. And it comes down with like the great actors we had at our disposal to put on those performances. So
Mhm.
it makes it easier as an editor when you have really good material to work with.
Absolutely.
So from our two teams with some experience, real quick, can each of you tell us maybe what was the most challenging part of this experience and what was your favorite part? Let's start with Jason, to my left.
I think, the most challenging part for us was really kind of, we're settled on, because we had either climate change or gangster crime film. And so I think that was clearly an easy decision to go with crime gangster film, because climate change, we're like, we can't pull that off. But to me, as the writer, it's always the struggle to get a script to the team as quickly as possible. So usually what we do is we brainstorm as soon as we get the elements. And then I go off and we kind of get our ideas, who we're using. And then I go off and try to get them a script as soon as I can that night. So by I think midnight or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, we had a first draft. And then that gave the chance for everybody to work. And then we usually shoot Saturday and then try to let Mark edit, or, in this case, him and Cameron both kind of worked on the edit together. And then Sunday, but we did shoot a little bit Sunday. I didn't go to that. But then that way we have all of Sunday to edit, clean it up, kind of polish it and get it turned in. So I think to me, it's always that panic of how are we going to work the elements in and get them a script as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing, Michelle, for your group, we recommend that you write on Friday, film on Saturday, leave Sunday for editing.
Okay,
So-
thank you so much, because we are lying by the seat of our pants here.
We'll be doing a bit of an orientation Zoom closer to kickoff for
Yes.
Dallas.
Thank you.
Doug,
So-
Chris, Bruce, y'all have
Lindsay?
anything to add about your weekend challenges or?
I think for me,
I think one of the things that's, it's the same answer to both questions. What was most difficult and what was my favorite part of it is the constraint of 48 hours really forces you to ask the question of like, can I execute this?
Mhm.
Because when we did our writing room, we had all of our different pillars, or we had our editor, we had our DP, we had our actor guy, we had everybody who knew they were going to be on board, and we all sat there and brainstormed stuff before we sent the writers out to go write. But because of the when we started working on it, we had all these other ideas. We had, hey, we can do this and this and that, but it's like, yeah, but we have to make sure that we can do it in the time frame. And so you feel good about saying no to stuff because it's a good idea, but it's just not something we can execute. And so that was sort of, when we kind of learned to figure that out, it's hard decisions, but it also kind of makes it a lot more fun too, because now you can just really swing at something that's going to connect.
Lindsay, you were saying something?
I think for me, I am pretty clear on like what my strengths and weaknesses are. Like I have no desire to operate a camera or be behind it. Like producing in 30,000 feet, that view level of it is kind of where my strength is. And I think like one of the challenges is making sure for me, always having that conversation with my directors and my DP. There was a time when Mark and his AD and Cam were having a discussion and it was just taking a minute. And, you got to put that producer hat on and be like, hey guys, like, I'm just asking, is this like a $100 a minute discussion? I'm just asking because we gotta get out of here. And if it is, like, we're going to close set and we're going to have this discussion and we're going to give it the attention that it needs. But if it's not, I'm going to need you to wrap it up. And so I think it's just one of those things, right? That's having somebody there that's able to keep people on task, which is never a fun job. Like nobody wants to be like, can you guys just like be quiet? But honestly, like that's part of the struggle, right? Because it is such a tight time frame and it is such a tight turnaround that sometimes those conversations need to happen. And I think for me, the best part of it was I actually loved when we got to screen the films in Dallas. And the part that I love the most, and Michelle, and I think all of the filmmakers here will echo it, it is fun for me to see new and budding filmmakers create things. Like there are so many things that kids can be doing nowadays, but if you want to get together with a camera with your friends and you want to make a film, like to me, that's just so fun. I mean, in my former life, I was a teacher. So to me, I love all of that. And so it was fun to be able to see those. And I don't know, people like to dog on the generations that are coming up, but to me, it just kind of gives me hope. I'm like, look at them, look at their little creative storytellers and look at what's happening. Like, I think that is the most fun. I will sit and watch middle and high school films all day long. Like to me, that is absolutely the most fun. And, it just made me think like, man, I wish that when I was that age that I had the guts and the courage to do it, because that's not what I was doing when I was their age. And so I think that is kind of inspiring and humbling. So yeah,
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
the youth teams come up with just the most incredible ideas that, those of us who have kind of been conditioned as to what is expected, we're a little bit more inside the box, but the younger generation is just like, box, what box?
Yeah. That's what I'm really hoping for. It's a really good, disparate group of teens. And so I'm hoping that just some craziness comes out of it. That's just really fun to see.
I'm sure they will.
Do you have a challenge? You've already gone on this question, haven't
Yes.
you? Yeah, Mark's not on this question. Chris, do you have something? What was your biggest challenge and what was the most fun thing?
Oh, were you talking to Chris or talking to me? Sorry.
Chris, sorry.
I apologize.
My apologies.
I pulled a Lindsay.
Me?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you? Me?
No, you got it.
So I think the hardest thing, it's really kind of twofold. One was I had assembled a waiting pool of talent. More people than we needed. And the hardest thing it's always is when you're casting is to call people and say, hey, I can't use you today. Because there were a lot of hearts broken. Well, not a lot, maybe 5 or 6, but there were people that really wanted to be part of this thing. And the other thing was knowing how much work went into like our B-roll that was left on the floor.
Oh.
We had so many funny things that we just couldn't fit into that time constraint. But all at the same time, I mean, it was so much fun to watch it being done. I think the coolest thing for me was to watch people like Bruce and watch people like Jack work. Jack was our director of photography, and to see them, I mean, these are pros doing what they do, and to watch them in their element was fascinating to me, and something I wouldn't trade in for the world.
Awesome.
That brings me to my next question, actually, is, speaking of the B-roll, what are your plans for, what are your future plans for your film? Are you going to submit them to festivals? Are you going to re-edit them? Are you going to expand on them? Where do y'all go from here?
I mean, we already know Frogger is going to debut at the ATX Short Film Showcase in September.
Right. So yeah, no, we went and we finally have gone through and done a proper polish. Everybody wanted to go and make a couple of adjustments, and we did some color and some sound stuff, just so it just was not so a little rough around the edges. And Bruce did some really, really cool little touches. Reason I wanted Bruce on this is he's just got like a really great narrative touch on these edits, and he really had a chance to kind of fuss over it. And so we've got kind of a more polished cut that we'll be taking to Austin in September. And then also one of our writers, actually, Nolan, has been working on a list of festivals that we're going to be looking to shop at. And so we're examining that, and we've got a very limited kind of release. We've got a link for people who'd like to see the film, but it's not available. We're just trying to make sure that we're not pushing it too hard yet. But it's, we're just kind of trying to figure out, how do we shop this thing? It wasn't something that we signed up for. Much like Mark, when we got into it, was like, I'm in this thing to have some fun. Like if it's entertaining, that's great, but I want to have a great experience. I love all the people I'm working with, and I want to love them on the way out. And so this isn't important enough to spoil what we're doing. But then we're sitting there in Austin and I had just no idea that this thing was going to happen. And now we've got a whole new set of questions to ask. And so we're kind of working on it.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, we have a kind of a handful of festivals we usually submit our stuff to. Whenever it comes to this is where whenever it comes to taking stuff to other festivals, I'm kind of, Lindsay tells me there's two kinds of delusional. And there's some people who are so delusional that they think that they're going to make it to Sundance, or, this is going to be the whole thing when we're going to do this, which is great. I'm the opposite kind of delusional. I'm in the, no one cares to see this. We're not going to be able to get into festivals based on 48 hours of work. Let's be realistic here. And so I'm always at that tension point between, like, how much money do we want to submit to festivals? It's just so again.
So we're screening, but Mark, that's why we don't put Mark in charge of that. So
you don't put me in charge of any of that. No.
Yeah. So we're screening at Burbank next month. So Lindsay's going to rep us there. So we got to the Burbank Film Festival there.
Congratulations.
We got Deep in the Heart, which is Waco, which is a local one. We really like those guys because we actually met those two guys that run that festival at the Dallas 48. So we've always kind of worked with them. Against them. They were always kind of our competition, and now we're screening at their festival in Waco. So that's a great festival, local. And so we've submitted to Austin. I haven't heard back from them yet. That's a good writing one. So we just kind of make the rounds, but we just ignore Mark because he doesn't think we'll make it in any of them.
Now, when is Deep in the Heart?
So it was just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay, I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah, so we screened down there and had a great screening. That's a fun festival. They do it at the Hippodrome, and again, since Mark's kind of from Baylor, there's a lot of hometown feel to that. But Waco's gotten really fun. I mean, because they do a whiskey tour down there at Balcones, and so they really set it up, and they feed you a lot and give you a lot of drinks. So it's free for the filmmakers, so it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Hospitality.
I've been meaning to check out Deep in the Heart Film Festival. It just it always seems like I've got a million things going on at that time. So
So I have a question for everybody. And then my brain just threw it out the window, apparently.
I have another question. Do you want me to take it and then you can?
Yes,
remember?
please. Maybe I
Okay.
can think mine. Oh my goodness.
So, my question is, are y'all thinking of doing this again sometime soonish?
Like this year.
Like this year.
Probably not this
Well,
year.
I think we're gonna take a couple years off. I think we got some things cooking that are just still working with Lindsay, still working. We have some cool projects there. You know, me and Jason have the ever elusive feature that we're always chasing, but then
That's
just
because you're
end
going to get a future doc with me. You just don't know it yet.
oh gosh, the last thing I want to do is film a documentary with Lindsay. Oh,
You're going to do.
yeah. Hey, it's I'm all ears. But like, and so I think like I think maybe in 5 years or 4 to 5 years, I'll go to Jason and I'll be like, hey, do you want to do this again? And he'll say, I guess, and then we'll do it again. But it's so much fun. But like I think I don't think I could ever do it back to back years, because I feel like we just did Cannes, we just did Filmapalooza. So the
Right.
thought of doing another one like in the next couple months doesn't sound great. But I will, yeah.
There's always the 4 Points Project
I
in
know.
in November.
early November, and that gives you a whole 72 hours.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
me
all
and Lindsay,
timed,
me and
just
Lindsay
that.
are going to Israel to produce a project in November. So we're taking it. We're going
So
international.
yeah, that's what you're doing in November. Okay.
That's what I'm doing in November. Very busy.
Well, keep us posted on all of your future projects, because we like to promote our filmmakers. So,
Sure. Yeah.
I have to scoot. I'm a couple hours behind, so I have a dinner. But I did want to say I didn't get to give my 2 cents.
Yes,
Jason didn't
please.
listen to me when we were in Cannes.
Mhm.
I told him that you need to take the time and do the F1 tour in Monaco. It is a 20-minute train ride from Nice, and the Monaco Grand Prix happens that exact week of the Cannes Film Festival. And I cannot say enough good things about that and that experience. And it's worth taking the time to go to Monaco to have it. James and I got to walk the pits and the paddocks because they were setting up and pretty unrestricted. So it was an incredible experience. So for those of you that are looking for new and exciting things to do, if you go to Cannes this year, I cannot stress enough how great Monaco was. It seems like a fake city almost.
Well, thank you
For
so much for
definitely
taking the
put that
time
on
to
my
join us and
list.
share with us, Lindsay.
Yes.
We
So
really
I will see you
appreciate
guys later. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Lindsay.
So from Doug, Chris, and Bruce, any of y'all planning on doing a 48 this year?
That's kind of, I'm hoping to make a decision on that in the next week. And frankly, hearing from Mark, that kind of unknots that decision a little bit for me. I think we had, when we left the shoot on that Sunday, we were all kind of looking at each other like, man, that was fun. It was exhausting, but we felt like we had kind of bottled something cool, and we were determined to go and do something again. But I think the question about what that is, it needs to be the right thing. And so, I mean, honestly, coming up in a few weeks, I'm so tempted. And if Bruce was like available, which he's not, no guilting there. But and if everything kind of aligned, and if it felt like it was just a slam dunk, we might do it. But I'm getting a little bit of resistance, and I'm also, I think we've got something really cool in Frogger. I think it's a really beautiful little film, and I don't know, the idea of getting it in front of some other people is it's kind of a new thing to think about, and maybe that's where our attention should be.
Yeah.
Understood. Well, just to throw it out there, of course, Dallas is kicking off in September. Austin Film de Femme is kicking off in October. And then, of course, there's the Four Points project in November. So lots of things to do. Houston's supposed to be sometime soon-ish. I'm very glad that they are back up and running. We lost El Paso this year, but hopefully we'll get it back next year. I'm on a mission from God. I tell people I'm going to get Texas to be the biggest 48th state in the United States.
Awesome.
I'm working on Lubbock and I'm working on Brownsville. Not for me. Karen won't let me do it, but I'm trying to find people who are willing to pick it up.
Yes, won't let
Michelle,
her do it.
Michelle, on your team, what's your plan do you guys have anything planned for sound?
We literally have no clue what we're doing. It's probably going to look so pathetic, but it'll be fun to do because it's our first time out. One of the mom that organized it, her father and brother are in Little Rock. And so they do it every year in Little Rock. But this year, her father, for whatever reason, they missed that one in Little Rock. So he's going to come in and work with us, with our team. And I was like, thank you, God, because, we're just trying to figure it out. And the girls were batting around the idea. I'm so grateful that you guys were talking about being able to expand it, because my girls were like, well, what if we did this really awesome storytelling trailer and then we could make it bigger later and play with it, after the fact. So just listening to all of this, no is my answer. We don't have anything planned for sound. He's bringing a bunch of equipment. I have some equipment that I'm borrowing.
Yeah.
That's great, because that's the biggest thing. I was like, even just that if it's bad sound, to me, it just kind of completely takes you out. So there are a lot of people that are shooting with cameras and stuff like that. Again, with an iPhone and stuff, it looks great. It's just when you get the wind sound and you get it up on the big screen, I'd say that 90% of stuff you can kind of elevate yourself if you just get at least decent sound. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that makes a huge difference that I've seen, because you watch one and go, this looks really good, but God, you just can't hear dialogue. You can't, the wind noise is just, it's terrible.
Yeah. And speaking
you.
of that, this is for Michelle too. I echo Lindsay's sentiment. Like my favorite part of our screening was seeing the high school kids just having fun, because it's almost like it's the purest, most distilled version of the art form, and it's chaos but it's so much fun, and it reminds me a lot. So are you in the Dallas area?
Yes, I'm up in Justin next to Texas Motor Speedway. The group is mostly down in Bedford though.
Okay. I won't speak for Jason just yet, but like I'd love to answer and help out with any questions, any ideas. Maybe not necessarily on the weekend of, but I just whatever advice, like any advice, any notes. That's like my second favorite part of filmmaking is just encouraging younger filmmakers and just to see if they like doing it. So I can hook up with you through Facebook or whatever. And, I may be able to provide you a hot plate of garbage, but
at least it's steaming hot, there we go.
Piping hot. It is the freshest of the fresh.
Michelle, are you group leader at View Possibilities?
Yeah, that is me.
That is you?
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't played around in that group in a while, but yes.
Now I'll add you on there, and then that way you're at least connected to me and Mark. And same thing is just that kind of stuff. We love stuff like that. And I think if they have fun and just be as stupid as you want, that's the fun stuff. So I'll help you guys out, whatever you need.
I'll only help if I find out who hugged you.
This is Gabby. This is my youngest.
Gabby?
She's 13, and I have Bella down here who's 16, who's like who's the reason we're doing this. But yeah, it's a really neat group.
That sounds awesome.
You guys are making me so happy.
I did remember my question
Oh, yes, go ahead.
from each of y'all. Would you recommend doing a 48 at least once to other people?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's character building. And honestly, like there's something so fun about finding out what works and what doesn't work. Like part of the most fun that me and Jason have is afterwards we talk about, like, we just don't have any, I won't say we don't have ego, but we try to be as egoless as possible, and just you gotta be a little egotistical to make a movie. You gotta be crazy to make a movie in 48 hours anyway. But there's something so fun about what didn't work this time, and what did we think was gonna work but didn't work, and being really open to, you know, what can we do better next time, and then what's your next movie after that? Like, it's a really good jumping off point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bruce, what about you, since you're an editor?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is, would you recommend doing a 48 to anybody else?
I think it depends on the person, because yeah, it's like the journey is like everyone knows it's chaotic, a time squeeze, but if it's done right with the right people, like it's so rewarding. And like I knew it'd be rewarding like originally, but like after like we went to see the film and like the event and the community and I guess like the culture, like it kind of just inspired me a little bit. So like, I mean, yeah, I would tell people to definitely go for it, even if you don't think you're gonna win or anything. Just definitely, it's a challenge, very challenging, but it's very fulfilling. Just to say that you survived the 48.
Yeah.
You're able to crank something out of quality. It's a proud moment. So yeah, I would definitely. Yeah, as long as they're cool with like not sleeping much for a weekend.
Sure.
I've got teenagers and coffee.
There you go.
I had a question for Doug and Chris and Bruce, if you don't mind me asking.
Go for it.
Did you guys ever have a moment where you were unsure if you were going to get something in on time? Like, was there ever kind of that butt pucker moment where you're just like, sorry, Gabby.
She's out good.
Yeah. Because I mean, we've always kind of getting there where it's like, okay, we're kind of pushing it. We're getting our final sound mix at like 6:30. But like, did you guys have any of those butt pucker moments where you're like kind of biting your nails?
I think I know a moment, and I think Chris it'll be interesting to hear Chris's perspective on this, but one of the crunches that we had in our shoot is that we had this great ensemble cast that was all going to be in another show that evening. So all the scenes that you see with everybody except for, the main character, Chaz, we had those people until like, was it 3 or 4 o'clock, Chris? What was it? And take your mute off. So I want you to chime in here. I don't want to be the one.
Yeah.
And so what happened was that we did all this great work with them, maybe a little more B-roll than we needed, but we wanted to shoot a little more than we needed. And then we were going to go back and lay down the bed, which is, basically the interview that we had with Chaz, which had to be shot before we could really edit everything else to it. It was the bedrock of this thing, right? And so it's like, what time was it, Chris?
When we were done that night?
We were done on Saturday, right? I mean, it was...
Well, at 10 o'clock is when I think we finally went to Martin and said, who is our Chaz, and said, hey, dude, you're out of gas. Let's crank you back up in the morning. And it was a tough decision to make. He drove probably an hour to get to us. For him to get back the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I knew it was going to be a challenge, but he rose to it. And the next day, I told him I've directed Martin before, and I told him, you've got more energy than what you're showing us now. And the next day he brought it. I mean, he brought it in spades. So, that was, I guess that was my moment, that, and like Bruce said, or Doug said, having to know that we had people that were going to need to be at another theater at 6 o'clock in the evening to run another show entirely. Really kind of kept us on a pretty tight track.
But that decision, even though I think it was the right decision, put Bruce in a really tough position because
Yes,
we really needed that interview footage we could edit these little B-roll pieces that we're going to kind of lay and pepper throughout. But Bruce had to get that bedrock piece done, and it wasn't going to be shot until morning the next day.
Yeah.
And so that really, really put Bruce under the gun, which is why his hair's all white
Yeah.
front.
Did Bruce have any say in that decision?
He did not.
Go with the flow, you know, just being a good team
Yeah.
player, you know.
What are you gonna say? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But also, just to go back to when you were saying like stressful moments, like just as an editor, and other editors know that like, you know, near the finish line as an editor, like I kept wanting to squeeze in extra polish, thinking I can get
Yeah.
away with it, like minutes before we had to submit, and so having to like pull back on that natural thing I want to do as an editor was hard to do. To like lift your hands up, like there's so many things I want to nitpick and make better, but I can't because of the deadline, and so it's just part of it. But yeah, all it was fun.
Yeah.
Great question.
Well, I think we learned one time with not getting one in on time with another team. It wasn't with Mark,
No.
but
No.
we did. I think that scared me so bad that we wasted all weekend and then we didn't get it in on time. And so Mark, after that point, he knew that was my biggest fear. He always exports at least a good copy on time and so I think in One for the Road, I actually took that up there and was sitting at turn in, and then he was working on the polish, and then he came in like right before deadline with the polished version, but we had one to turn in. So we at least knew we'd have something in, because I think that's got to be the most disheartening thing, is when you have all these people that commit this time and then something happens to the export, or another time the guy couldn't find the drop-off location. And that's just heartbreaking for everybody because it's just nothing to show for it.
And I want to be very clear, that has never happened with me.
Not with Mark.
No, it is one of those
Mark.
things where, well, this was great too. This was great because we had to actually send off a DVD 6 years ago. So we actually we had 2 cars in two different times with different versions. And so to upload was great because my compressions at my work computer is really fast. So I wasn't too worried about the compression, but there was a version so what we did is we exported it. We watched it as a group, as a kind of a quick QC. Did we see any mistakes? And there was one like part of our score that didn't hit, like for some reason in the mix didn't come back. And so we were missing just a little BWOM. Everyone knows what a BWOM is, you know, if you're an editor, but we're like, you know what, we have to just submit it. And then I was just able to submit the updated version for the screening. It didn't make that big of a difference. Like, but for me it did, but not to turn it in.
So you can do 2, you can turn in something and then turn in a slightly more polished one at the,
And fortunately now we have a digital drop off. Ever since the pandemic, the drop off is entirely online. I have it on good authority that Texas Wildlife is very relieved they don't get hit on the way anymore.
Yeah.
We've actually had people hit a deer on their way to the drop off.
really?
Yeah.
Well,
We
let me
had
if I could just
streets
go ahead and
closed
real quick
with no warning.
normalize the people who don't get it in on time, because this is our second time. Bruce and I did this once before.
Mhm.
And we did not make it in on time, and that was no fault of their own. And I really don't want anybody's team to totally dissolve and crumble and rip each other
No.
up, because
100%.
it's totally worth doing it and feeling good about your product, even if you don't finish on time.
Sure.
It's about the journey. It's about the product, and it stings. It sucks. You don't want to turn it in late, but finish it, get it
100%.
done, and get it screened. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I never meant to disparage anyone, but 100%. That's just me being a competitive. I'm not detail oriented unless it's something like that for some reason, and it's. But yeah, no, it's 100% worth.
I actually
Mhm.
participated in a 48 in 2014 and did not finish because the people who had said they were going to help me that weekend kept disappearing on me. Time after time after time. It's one thing going into it knowing you're going to do it all on your own and you plan it that way. And it's another when you're suddenly ending up having to do more jobs and more jobs that you didn't know about.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I can't finish my film because some of my stuff was missing because of some of that abandonment. But I now help produce the competition.
Creative people are very flaky. We've learned that. We know that. And we are too. And I think you've got to have somebody that OCD like Lindsay, that Mark and I are very ADD and we're squirrel, we'll get distracted. So I think, guys, we need that kind of person to wrangle you in. But I think the one thing that I love about the competition is, Mark, after every film that we watch, we talk about, hey, what worked in that? More of a positive aspect, because again, you don't know if the filmmaker's right behind you, but we're like, hey, what worked in that film? And actors and music people, we've stolen so many people from Good 48-Hour Film.
Not
Race.
stolen, you've recruited.
We've recruited, sorry, yes. But if you see somebody that you like or see that talent, it's a great showcase to see people. And, I know a lot of our actors have gotten a lot of, especially after Cannes, I mean, that just kind of elevates you to another level where you're like going, hey, we screened there. It gets, it opens a lot of doors. Ted Raimi was in town and we were pitching a feature to him. And the only reason I got a meeting with him was because he had just screened at Cannes. And we did. So that was kind of that general, hey, let's meet up and have a conversation through a mutual friend. And it worked out great. Now he's an attached executive producer just because of the Cannes connection. So it definitely does open doors for you.
That is
Again,
incredible.
I love the winners here. Y'all did amazing films. I do want to stress that it is a tough competition to get to Cannes.
Mm-hmm.
What we prefer to emphasize is you get to make a film in 2 days.
You get to find out what you're capable of.
Yeah.
One of my old teachers once gave me a poster that said, it's amazing what one can accomplish when one doesn't know what one can't do. And it was a picture of Garfield and Odie both sitting in a tree. How did Odie get up the tree? It was not my favorite teacher, but I have to admit that sentiment has gotten me far, because sometimes just not knowing what you can't do, spurns you to do some amazing things and find out that you can. And that's one of the great things about the 48 is you challenge yourself and you find out what you're capable of. You're also challenging other people and you find out if you can work with them under pressure, which, is sometimes the people you can work with in a normal project are not the people you can work with under pressure. And it's good to know that, it doesn't have to destroy relationships or anything like that, but it's good to know that, okay, this person really, really can do something under pressure and this other person can't. So if I've got something that needs, that high pressure skill, I go with this person. If I need someone who's a little more, focused long-term, then you go with somebody else. So.
And I apologize. I didn't want to downplay y'all's accomplishments as winners, because what you did was amazing and really deserved the wins. I just wanted to make sure that our new filmmakers understand that it's not always about winning. Sorry, Mark. It is about creating.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I've always felt like both of your teams have the right attitude of doing it for fun, doing it to see what you can do, not necessarily in it to win it. Anywhere else, that's a great idea. That's a great attitude to have. But in this competition, it's really more about the personal challenge. It's less of a race and more of a marathon.
No,
Well,
that's
I
absolutely.
realized that I forgot to mention that Chris worked on us on the other film as well, Beta, and he was also an integral piece in that as well. But to your point, Lena, if you want to make a great film, you can really run over some people. But if you try to work with the people you have, you end up with a great elevated product as a result. You get both. If you put the people first, it's got to be about the people.
So
Mark, you were going to say something?
I mean, it was just echoing earlier, but I think before Michelle hopped on, but it was just like, our entire focus while we were shooting it was, again, just to have fun. It was just to be with people. It was just let's not overexert ourselves. Let's try and do this and get some sleep. And we kind of succeeded for the most part. I think we got about 5 hours, but yeah. So yeah, I think if you go, I was to echo it, if you're going in with a overly competitive mentality, then I think you've already lost.
Well, and while we were in Filmapalooza, we were talking to Mark Rupert that, obviously runs 48 and started it. And Mark blatantly just tells him, yeah, we don't want to win any awards. And I was like, come on, Mark.
It was already decided at that point. He couldn't.
Straight to the point. And again, he did. But I was like, well, we do kind of want to win some awards, Mark. And,
Okay. You are crazy paraphrasing me.
That's exactly what he said.
Okay, whatever.
My name's Mark. dumbass, and we don't want to win any awards. That's what you said.
We will send it. We will send it back. We will send it back.
Oh, well,
Mark
some of our- some of
Rupert
our-
can bring out the silly in any of us.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Some of our greatest claims, you know, again, winning is awesome. Winning awards is awesome, but some of our proudest achievements are seeing where some of our participants have gone after participating in the 48. Of course, our greatest claim to fame is from a London film in 2009, 2010.
2010 Best of London film. It had Martin Freeman in it. And if you're not familiar with who Martin Freeman
Wow.
is, he was Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah.
He got the silent one, right? He
Yeah,
did the,
well,
yeah.
I don't remember if it was a silent film, but
Yeah,
it
He
was
was a mime.
about a
He
mime.
was a mime. And
Yeah.
the great thing about that is he found out he got the role for The Hobbit right before the 48 happened, and he still did the 48.
Mhm.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Speaking locally, for the ATX film project, we have one of our alumni, Mike Carrion, who took what he learned from the 48, not only made an amazing improv show, he turned that into an amazing short film that then premiered at Tribeca, and now he helps write and sometimes guest stars on Lopez versus Lopez.
Nice.
So again,
And
we've
one
had
of our-
people we've had people who this was just the thing they did every year with their family. So we love celebrating what you accomplish, whatever you choose to make that as a success, how you define that. If it's doing something as a family, we will cheer you on. If it's growing your own skills and building yourself to go places, we love that too. You know, that's what the 48 is about. You can do almost anything.
one of
My-
our actors,
Sorry.
oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I said, my hope for these teens, because they're kind of at the beginning and they don't know what they're doing, my hope is that making a movie after they finish this feels like something doable instead of something that those people do, you know, something that you know, even if we don't finish, like I'm not saying I'm not trying to jinx this or anything, but even if we don't finish, like they feel that much closer to this is something I can really do. Like this is totally possible, because we have several teens on the team that this is kind of like this is their passion, you know. So if they just learn that alone, it's a win for me.
On that note, feels like we're winding down and wrap it up a little bit. If I could get from each one of you just one tip you could give somebody else in a 48, but only in 48 seconds.
Ooh.
And we'll start at the bottom of my screen. Let's start with Mark.
Give me 48 seconds to think of something.
Okay.
I honestly, I think the most important thing you can do that's really like a tangible thing is take care of your crew with water, with food. I think a happy crew leads to a really happy atmosphere, and just treating people with, it sounds really corny, but just treat people with respect, and you know, that's it really. It's just taking care of your crew, being nice to your crew, because they're the ones. It's not any one person's movie, it's everyone's, and you want everyone to feel ownership in it.
Let's go to Bruce.
I mean, honestly, I'm probably just going to piggyback off of that. It's just really important to find people that you work well with and can handle pressure, you know, at the time pressure. Yeah. Some people are really good at what they do, but like if it's, you know, you have 2 days to get something done, they might not be, you know, in their wheelhouse to do something like that. And so yeah, I think it's very important to find people that, like Mark said, enjoy people, and everyone in your group is kind of like your friend, and you're able to perform under just high pressure, you know. And you know, everyone, like Mark said, it's everyone's film, and so you're kind of all in this together. And what kind of what got me through is, like, you know, we're all flipping through this. It's not just me. It's not just the DP or the actors. It's everyone coming together. Having fun. It's a big time fun. So yeah, find the right team that can handle the pressure So yeah, that's my TED talk.
Jason, your turn, and no piggybacking.
So I would say keep it simple. I think we've tried really complicated shoots. This one, we decided to just keep it simple, keep the story simple, keep the shooting simple, and do it the best that you can do, but keep it as simple as possible. That way you don't overexert yourself.
Cool.
Chris.
Me. I want to echo Mark and say it's respecting your partners and you know, especially if you're bringing people in, like we were fortunate enough to have, you know, this, Doug called them silos. I don't necessarily think we were in silos because we worked together, but to be able to know that, you know, I might have an idea, but I know that Jack is going to have a hell of a better idea whenever it comes to filming a shot a certain way. And then whenever you see the finished product, you're like, yeah, that was better. So, you know, respect and trust with the people that you have around you.
And Doug?
You know, I obviously the respect and trust thing is so important, but I think also hopefully out of that respect and trust is the courage to really be creative and to take, you know, you've got your job, you've got your piece of the pie, and how can you really just like make this thing sing as best you can? And then you're inevitably going to have to hand that thing off. Like if you're writing it, you're handing it off to directors. If you shot it, you're going to have to hand it off to an editor. And so everybody, you know, if you just you let that part sing, you know, don't undo it and being afraid to make a decision. Sometimes that's what you do, is you sort of hold back and hope somebody else will do something good with it. But everybody, you know, just give it. People trust you. Get creative, have some fun, and trust the process.
So again, I want to say thank you all for taking the time out to join us and to share your experiences and thoughts with everybody. Thank you, Michelle, and your lovely children for participating. We will definitely be in touch.
We're also, something we learned in Austin this last summer was the benefit of having a WhatsApp group for all of the teams.
Participants.
So if anybody has a question, sometimes people who have done this before can answer it before we get a chance to, because a lot of times we're answering questions on phones, emails, texts, you name it as well. So anyway, I wanted to extend the invitation to both of your teams, if you would like to join in and be just, you know, a source of
Information. If you want to,
source of information.
No pressure.
Yeah, I would be happy to invite you guys to that chat.
Or you can just come on and say, hey, you can do it.
Yeah,
That works too.
and I really appreciate all of the advice that y'all have given to Michelle and to anybody else who's watching, who is on a team. That makes me very happy. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you guys
Doug,
so much.
Facebook-
Thank you.
I Facebook messaged you or just friended you. I'd love to see Frogger, and I'll send you a link of Fault Lines.
Yay!
Actually,
Thank
you know what? I've seen Fault Lines, and in the
Oh.
year we did it, Bruce, do you remember the one that we watched from the year before? And it was the brother and sister on the road trip that like absolutely rips your guts out at the end. That's them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's our old one. Yeah.
That's-
I saw both of them, and I was just like, "How are these people?" And I find out those are the only two you've done. It's just, it's an honor to be in a call with you guys. You guys have
Oh,
a
shut up, Doug.
lot of heart.
I want to
Shut
see
up,
Frogger.
Doug.
They said great
I want to
things
see
about
Frogger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we understand that you might not be participating this year, but we would love to see y'all at the screenings coming out
Oh,
with
yeah,
the other
absolutely.
teams.
Yeah.
For
I'll
And
be there
again,
to.
keep us posted on anything that y'all do in the future, because if we can boost the signal, we will.
Great.
Great.
Thank
Appreciate you
Or
guys.
if you just need extra hands, like free volunteers.
There you go.
Like, for real. I mean,
Child labor. It's underrated.
okay.
That's
Don't piss
recorded.
off the unions though.
Right.
You're gonna be your own worst friend.
Anything goes during a strike. All right.
Fortunately, we have
it in writing from both
Have it in
SAG
writing.
and WGA
yeah,
that doing a 48 does not cross the picket lines.
exactly.
Oh, good.
Good deal.
Because
I
nobody
didn't
can
think
be
about that.
paid anyway, since it's a competition. No one can be paid anyhow, and yeah, they like us. So
But
Great.
we have it in writing. We're cool.
Good deal.
Bella's telling me she already checked that before we signed on.
Yeah.
She said,
Take
"Why
it.
did we check?"
Good
I love
girl.
Take it.
Smart kid.
Yep.
Okay,
Well,
well,
thank-
thank you guys so much for being here, and
We'll
I
see, definitely Frogger, ATX Short Film Showcase, September 11th in Austin, Texas. So
Looking
hopefully,
forward to it. I'll be there.
I will be announcing the location of the kickoff and a possible mixer very soon. Hopefully by the end of the month, end of the week. Hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay.
So
and also we'll be scheduling an orientation Zoom for new teams just to go over some things. So
yes.
thank you so much, and we will talk to you all later.
All right.
Thank
Great
you
to meet you all.
guys
See you guys.
so
Thanks, guys.
much.
Good meeting
Good
you.
luck, Michelle.
Thank you so much.
Have a great year.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Awesome.
Whew. Okay.